Alright, what's up everybody? Back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today we have another episode of the Look In series, and this one is on the Milwaukee Bucks. Who would have thought that we would get a Milwaukee Bucks Look In series this early in the first round? Yeah, very wild stuff happening over there with the Bucks, and we're gonna talk all about it today. If you missed any of the other look-in episodes, you can go back and play this on my channel and just watch all of them. Yesterday, I uploaded one about the Clippers and about the Cavaliers. Sorry about the Cavaliers one that was so late. Yeah, the uploading stuff, it was weird. That, and then we're gonna have another one later today on the Atlanta Hawks after they were just eliminated yesterday. So check out for that one. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. If you do have the content, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, also like that. I really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. The Milwaukee Bucks this season finished with the best record in the NBA, 58-24. They had a great start to the year. Then throughout I want to say December-ish, they kind of started falling off a little bit. Their role players weren't playing as good. Injuries, of course, Chris Middleton was injured for a lot of the year. Giannis dealt with some injuries as well. But then about mid-January, February, they started to come back and look like the Bucks. They went on like what? Didn't they go on like a 16, 17 game win streak or something like that? Something crazy. They started to look great again. Drew Holiday made the All-Star team. Brook Lopez was in DPOY conversations. Giannis in MVP conversations. And this team looked amazing. They finished with the best record in the league, number one seed in the East. And they get a matchup with the Miami Heat in the first round. But then disaster strikes early. 11 minutes in to game one of their first round matchup. Giannis tries to get to the rim, takes a hard fall, has a lower back contusion, cannot play game one. The rest of game one also doesn't show up for game two and game three, where the Bucks lose two of those three games and are down 2-1. Giannis comes back for game four. And those three games, the Heat were really good. Jimmy Butler was amazing. The Heat role players really stepped up, while the Bucks role players in game one and game three didn't really show up, especially game three. Game three, they got blown out. Coming to game four, Giannis is back, and it looks like the Bucks going to win. They're up 10 with 3 minutes left, but then again, the role players, they kind of shut down. The role players aren't hitting shots. Chris Middleton isn't really getting the ball as much as Giannis is trying to take over and be Giannis, but you could tell he was still injured because of the back. He wasn't moving the same. And Jimmy Butler has one of the greatest play performances we ever seen, and the Heat steal game four. Now it's danger time in Milwaukee, coming into game five back at home. And it kind of happened again late in the game. It looked like the Bucks were going to win it, but then all of a sudden they stopped giving the ball to Chris Middleton. It was just ISO, really. ISO Giannis, ISO Drew Holiday, ISO. And then defensively, the game plan wasn't really that great. Giannis wanted a lot more opportunity guarding Jimmy, but they didn't let him. And he ultimately ended up going overtime and winning the game by 2. And the Bucks season is suddenly over in round 1. A lot of questions, a lot of things in Milwaukee now. Big spotlight on Milwaukee of like what's gonna happen now. There might be some changes coming, who knows. Very odd, weird scenario. The first number one seed to lose to an 8 seed since 2012 when the Bulls lost to the 76ers when Derrick Rose tore his ACL. And they're just the sixth number one seed all time to lose to an 8 seed. It is very crazy stuff. Get into the individual players. Giannis, he dealt with some injuries, of course, a little bit in the regular season. He only played in 63 games. And then, of course, in the playoffs, he had that back contusion. But, I mean, he's going to finish top 3 in MVP voting. He was phenomenal. He averaged 31, 11, and 5, shooting 55% from the field. The shooting numbers weren't as great as they usually are, but, I mean, he was just dominant the entire regular season. It's Giannis. He's the best player in the league. He was absolutely amazing. It just really sucks that he got injured, because if he doesn't get injured, the Bucks we're not talking about the Bucks right now. We're talking about them matching up with the Knicks right now. But Giannis gets hurt. Very unfortunate. Even when he did get back, you could still tell that he wasn't fully 100% back and ready to go, because he was still moving a little bit awkward and not how we usually see Giannis. There was some stuff after about Giannis saying like he wanted to have the Jimmy Butler assignment. He was the former defensive player of the year, and he wanted the Jimmy Butler assignment, but but Budenholzer didn't want Giannis guarding Jimmy. He wanted Giannis to be more the help side defender. But I think if I'm Giannis, I don't listen to Coach Bud. If I'm Giannis, I would rather go in there and take Jimmy Butler myself. Now, of course, he does what was best for the team. He's a team player. He's not a dude that's like all about him. Yeah, Giannis has to take that assignment. And a lot of talk about Giannis's game. And at this point, we kind of understand what Giannis's game is. And there's not really that much you can do to stop it, except for building a wall, which Miami did. But he's learned how to pass the ball pretty well now that he can get the shooters open and stuff. There's still going to be those times where you build the wall and he's going to try to go through everybody, and those times where he's going to draw a lot of charges. But, I mean, we all know that. It's Giannis. He's been doing this for, 5 years now, and has anybody stopped him? Kind of, yeah, in the playoffs. It has, but he's always found a way to bounce back. And I feel like Giannis is going to come back next year and have a big year and bounce back, because that's just who Giannis is. He's always hungry, always wanting more, and that's why he's one of the best players in the league. So, yeah, expecting a big year from Giannis next year. Hopefully he can stay healthy as well. He hasn't really been hit by the injury bug yet in his career, except for this year. He kind of was injured a lot, and then the playoffs, obviously. So hopefully that doesn't start becoming a thing for him. Next, I want to talk about Jrue Holiday, because Jrue Holiday had a really, really good year. He averaged 19, 5, and 7 with a steal. Shot 48% from the field, 38% from 3. Made his first All-Star team in 10 years. Probably going to make All-Defensive team. He was just really, really good. He kind of turned into the second guy with Chris Middleton dealing with all his injuries. Jrue Holiday stepped up and took that role of the second guy, having big scoring games, also facilitating, while also being the best perimeter defender. Like, he had so much on his plate this year, and he executed very, very well. And he's an amazing player. He's an amazing player, and I won't be surprised if from now on he kind of turns into the second guy. Especially, we're going to talk about Chris Middleton in a few minutes. But, I mean, Jrue Holiday was really good. There's not much more you could say about him, and much more he could have done for this team. He had big shots as well. Late in Game 4 and Game 5, he had a couple big shots. Yeah, I mean, he had a really good year. And now we're getting to Chris Middleton. Middleton got injured last year in the first round series against the Chicago Bulls. He missed the entire second round series against the Celtics. That really changed a lot of things. And came into this year, he wasn't ready to go early. He came back, kind of looked a little bit like Chris Middleton, but still tell he was dealing with injuries. Then he got hurt again, sat out for a little bit, but then he came back at the end of the year and looked really good. And he actually looked pretty good in the playoffs as well. He played in 38 games in the regular season. He averaged 15, 4, and 5 on 43% shooting from the field, 31% from 3. Not the efficiency numbers you expect from a guy like Chris Middleton, but a lot of those were like early in the year when he was trying to find his footing. But in the playoffs, he played really good. I think he averaged around 20-ish points a game in the playoffs. He had some big moments. Very interesting to see in Game 5, he had the hot hand. He was amazing. Yet, Budenholzer kind of took the ball out of his hands and let Giannis and Jrue finish the game off. Very, very weird to see. I'm riding Chris Middleton because Chris Middleton has shown me in the playoffs before that he hit big shots lately. Their championship run. Every closeout game, every game in the fourth quarter, Chris Middleton was getting the ball and Chris Middleton was closing out games. So I don't understand why Chris Middleton doesn't get the ball late in that game. But a lot of talk about Chris Middleton as well, of his future in Milwaukee. He's 32 years old. His contract is going to be up pretty soon. And a lot of talk about if the Bucks want to keep him around, especially with his age, him getting older. And now with the injuries starting to hit him. A lot of talk about that. But I just don't see it, honestly. Like, he's kind of been they built Chris Middleton from the ground up as just a random second round pick that they traded for randomly. And all of a sudden he became their second best player and the guy that kind of helped lead them to a championship. And he's one of the better number 2 guys that doesn't really need the ball, isn't a superstar, is around the all-star level tier, that doesn't complain. He comes in, does what he needs to do, very efficient scorer. And I don't see why the Bucks would give him up yet. Like, they're still trying to go for championships. And I don't think the money's going to be a huge issue, because I don't see any team after Chris Middleton becomes free agent trying to go give Chris Middleton $150 million. Like, I don't see Chris Middleton going out there and getting a crazy contract, unless I'm wrong, but I don't see this. I don't know if money is going to be a huge issue. Of course, they're going to try to pay him out, because he's such a big part to this Milwaukee Bucks team. So I don't see Chris Middleton leaving the Bucks anytime soon. For the other players on the Bucks, I mean, Brook Lopez, got to give him a lot of applause as well. He had a really, really good season. He averaged just under 16, 6 and 1 assists, 2.5 blocks. He finished second in Defensive Player of the Year. He also played in 78 games, shot 53% from the field, 37% from three. It's just insane how he's having his best years at like 34. Like he's having his best seasons. He's really turned his game around, and he was a huge, huge part of the Milwaukee Bucks team this season. And you saw it in the playoffs when he had big games, they were winning, in this series, except for the game where he had 36 and they lost. I think that was the Jimmy Butler 56-point game. But Brook Lopez is a big key to this team. Defensively, you couldn't really ask that much more of him. He was great, and then offensively as well. Not just living at the three-point line, but also getting back to his old Brooklyn days, posting up, getting easy shots down low. That's big for the Bucks to keep him around. Bobby Portis had another good year as well. He averaged 14 and 9 while shooting 49% from the field, 37% from three. He played in 70 games this year. Was in Six Man of the Year conversations. He is very big piece of this Bucks team too. Is he's just become a really, really good player. He brings a lot of energy and the fun to Milwaukee. I mean, the Bucks fans love him, obviously, of course, but he's just really good in general. Like his 3-point shooting has become really good. He's always gonna bring the energy and the hustle on the glass. He can make solid passes. Like he's just become a really good player. And then Grayson Allen had a decent regular season as well. He averaged 10 points, shot 44% from the field, just under 40% from three. Of course, made the play at the end of Game 5 where he Euro steps for no reason when he should have just thrown up a floater to potentially tie the game. I don't know what that was about. But not going to be surprised if Grayson Allen might not be on the team because at the trade deadline, there were some talks about the Bucks trading him away to try to get another piece. So I won't be surprised maybe if they look for trades for him. But I mean, this Bucks team on paper was just built for this. Pat Connaughton was solid even though he had a pretty injury play year. Joe Ingles, when he did come back off his ACL injury, looked pretty good. They got Jay Crowder even though he didn't really play as much in the playoffs, which is very interesting to see that as well. Don't know what that was about. But I mean, this Bucks team was just built to win a championship, and now they're gone in the first round. The role players, guys like Grayson Allen and Pat Connaughton, weren't really hitting as consistently as you would think. Jay Crowder didn't really get as much minutes in this series than what I would like. Joe Ingles, I didn't see him a whole lot as I would maybe want to. And it's just very interesting for this Bucks team, a very interesting development in their franchise of this, Do I think they're discouraged a little bit? And probably not. But I do expect some changes. And the one big change, we got to talk about Coach Bud. Because he should not be the coach of this team any longer. I feel like ever since he got to Milwaukee, his job's been on the line. During that championship run, everything was like fire, Budenholzer, but then they won a championship. So now it's like, oh, well, okay, we got to let it slide. But now they can't let it slide. I feel like they need someone else new in there just to refresh the team. He doesn't make that many adjustments. His rotations weren't great, not great, very confusing. The decisions he made in that first round series were very confusing, especially Game 5, where he took the ball out of Chris Middleton's hands. He let Giannis, who was injured, go one-on-one, and Jrue Holiday, who wasn't having an amazing shooting game. He cut down some limitations. Guys like Jay Crowder, Joe Ingles weren't getting a lot of minutes, even though they could have been some pretty solid players in this series. And then the big one is at the end of regulation when Jimmy Butler had that tip in. They still have 0.5 seconds left. They had a timeout, and the Bucks didn't call it. They just let the game go into overtime. Instead of calling a timeout and maybe running a potential play where you have Brook Lopez and Giannis down there that could easily get an easy tip, or you have Chris Middleton or shooters out there with 0.5, you can get a 3-point shot off. I don't understand what that was about. He just let it go. And he just made some very bad decisions. And honestly, I feel like he kind of lost them this series. Mike Budenholzer kind of lost the Bucks this series because the Bucks had a huge chance, even without Giannis played, to win this series. But Coach Bud just made some very questionable decisions that were like, why? I think it's time to get someone new in Milwaukee. I think it's time to get someone new that can bring a little bit more to the offense, that can make adjustments, that can bring a little bit more defensively. Like, I don't understand why you don't have Giannis guarding Jimmy Butler, even though knowing he's injured. You still have the offensive players like Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez, where Giannis doesn't need to put up 40 or 45 or needs to go ISO every play. You have so much other players on the offensive end that can go get their own and great shooters that maybe you could just put Giannis on Jimmy and not have him worry about the offensive end as much. Of course, you want him still to get his own, but like I just don't understand what Budenholzer thinks sometimes, and I think it's time to let him go. I think the championship aura and stigma has kind of worn off at Milwaukee now, and now it's time to have them back up, give them more hungry, and maybe refresh this team by getting a new coach in there to kind of reset everything. But I think the future of this Bucks team, I don't see, except for Budenholzer being gone, I don't see any huge changes like them getting rid of Chris Middleton or Brook Lopez or anything. I don't see any of that coming. Maybe they can build this depth a little bit more. You know, they're going to go out free agency and try to build some of this bench a little bit more. Hopefully, getting another coach in there. I don't know who. Maybe Nick. That'd be funny if Nick Nurse, the guy who beat Giannis originally figured out the game plan for Giannis in 2019, was the one to come full circle and coach them to a championship. That would be funny. Yeah, besides the coach change, I don't see any big changes coming. I still think this Bucks team is fine. I think just being healthy. Like honestly, I honestly feel like if Giannis is healthy for this entire series, this isn't. We're not talking about the Bucks like this. And of course, that's also not me discrediting Miami, because Miami did what they had to do. Miami came out even with an injured Giannis. A lot of people still think the Bucks are going to win this series, and the Heat came out and absolutely, made everyone look like fools. So big shout out to Miami, man. They did what they there's not even words. Like they came out and did what they needed to do and played even better than anybody would have expected. So this is not me discrediting the Miami Heat in any sort of way, but it's just the truth. It's just facts. We gotta give the entire context to the series, and that's what it was. Giannis was injured. Giannis did miss almost 3 games, and the Heat took advantage of it. That's what you're supposed to do as an opposing team. You can't control when injuries happen. So you're like, oh well, he got injured. Well, you know what? We got to come out and win now, and the Miami Heat did. But yeah, I'm not worried about this Bucks team unless Budenholzer is still the coach. Then I might be a little bit worried. But I think my Budenholzer, it's time for him to go, and it's time for this Bucks team to get refreshed, rejuvenated, and have a new face, a new voice in there. Yeah, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, if you like the content, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Go check out the other Look In series episodes. We're doing one on the Hawks later today. And then tomorrow, I'm going to have a video because the second round is starting pretty soon. So I want to talk about the second round a little bit as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.